day on the Appalachian Heritage Woodshop, you will learn how to make a frame and panel tool chest.
The Appalachian area is comprised of 13 eastern states covering 205,000 square miles of rugged, mountainous terrain. It stretches from New York to Mississippi, with West Virginia being the only state totally encased in the area. When this region was first settled, the immigrants had to travel over the Appalachian mountain range with only what they could carry or haul by wagons. They would make furniture and other wooden items that were necessary and functional.
Howdy, Uncle Jerill. I got a piece of wood here that needs cut for a turkey call, and I don't reckon I have tools to do it. Think you can get me a hand with that?
Sure, Brent, no problem. I've got a saw right here. This is Lloyd Akers with the West Virginia State Farm Museum. Lloyd, when was this museum established?
It actually started about in 1974 when the county commission granted 100 acres for this farm museum. And in 1975 they built the first building, which is a yellow building up there across from the kitchen. And then in 76 it became the West Virginia State Farm Museum. At first it was the Mason County Farm Museum.
I see.
And
So what is the purpose of the farm museum?
the purpose of the farm museum is just to protect our farm life heritage. It's kind of fading away today, and Mr. Roush is the one that was actually the nucleus of this museum, and he seen the need to preserve our farm life heritage plus some farmers in this area. And they got together, and this is what they come up with.
And that's the reason we're here today, is to look at the Appalachian style toolboxes that were prevalent back in that time. And you had a real nice original one that was built that we showed today. There's several different style of toolboxes. The Appalachian people that lived in this area, they were very self-sufficient, so they had to have a way of transporting and storing their tools. And that was the purpose of these toolboxes.
Well, that, it's just amazing what they were able to do with primitive tools at the time, making, originally made their own furniture.
Yes.
Built their own houses.
Yep.
And it's just amazing, that when you look at those tools, it took a lot of skill.
It did. It took more skill than the tools we have today. But they had to make their own or barter for it. That was the only way. They didn't have a nearby store to go purchase anything.
That's right. Yeah.
Lloyd, I appreciate you letting us come here to the West Virginia Farm Museum and do our little filming today. We appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
Come back and see us.
Okay. This is an original antique country style toolbox. This was built by John Bumgarner. He worked at the Bell Steel Company in Steubenville, Ohio. And since he was born in 1890, we assume this was built in the early 1900s. This has butt joints with nails. It is pine. It has simple molding with a chamfer on it on the bottom and the top. It has a flat board attached to the top to use as a workbench, reinforce the top. And when you open it up, you can see that it has a saw till in the front. It has two sliding trays, a square storage here, and additional storage in the bottom. This is a Journeyman style tool chest. It has dovetailed corners. It has molding that wraps around it with a cove. The bottom is shiplapped and nailed on. The top is a true raised panel set in a groove, stile and rails frame. Then a molding that wraps around that. This allows the wood to expand and contract and will not split. When you open it, you'll see the brushed chrome hardware, the half mortise lock, and the 2-compartment single tray that is removable. This is cherry wood that was harvested from my client's garden. She planted it when her son was born. The tree died. I took it and had it milled and then kiln dried the wood and built this chest for her. She will be gifting this to her son who is retiring from the service, and he will store his military uniform, his medals, and his firearm. This is a journeyman's chest also. You can tell the dovetailed corners, the simple molding that wraps around the base. The base of this is a reverse raised panel that is set in a groove. This has a modified raised panel set in a frame and stile rail, which is also wrapped with molding. The hardware has been stripped of its finish, and then rust patina, and then a clear film put over that. This has a removable 2-compartment tray, and then below that are 2 sliding trays. And this is used by the lady that owns it to store photo albums in. This is my rendition of a country style toolbox. It also is pine. It has butt joints, but instead of nailed, I used glue. The bottom molding is chamfered. The bottom is a shiplap that is nailed onto it. The top lid is a panel, and it has molding on 3 sides that overlap the case when it's closed. This helps the lid stay flat. It has 2 removable trays, and because it is a country style, I used a rope for a handle and a rope for a lid stay, black iron hinges, and blue milk paint finish. This is a frame and panel style toolbox, walnut. What's unique about the frame and panel style toolbox is the rails and stiles are reversed. Usually the stile goes from the bottom to the top, but in this case the rail goes the full length and the stile is in between. The purpose for this is so the end grain is not on the bottom, because these were stored in barns and sheds, dirt floors, and it would wick up the moisture and cause the boards to rot prematurely. This is a flat panel. The lid is also a stile and rail with a floating tongue and groove panel. When you open it up, it has the single tray that slides from the front to the back, which is the way most toolboxes were. It has a black iron hardware. The bottom is shiplapped and it is nailed onto a ledger board that is set inside. That allows them to replace the bottom if it rots out. The corners are a locking rabbet joint, which is very rigid, so there's no nails on this toolbox. This is a common construction method for toolboxes. The bottom is tongue and groove boards that are nailed. The tray slides from the front to the back like most tool chests do. The corners are a locking rabbet joint. This is a very strong joint and requires no mechanical fasteners. And this is a black iron hardware to accentuate the walnut. It doesn't matter if you're using hand tools or machinery. In woodworking, you need to know how to safely use your equipment. When creating dust, make certain you have good cross ventilation, a dust collection system, or a dust respirator. If you're applying a finish, Please use a NIOSH approved respirator for that particular chemical. A good set of hearing protection is necessary to protect your hearing. And of course, eye protection is a must. I'm going to show how I make a frame and panel tool chest. So I'm going to show how to make a mortise and stub tenon. Normally with a tenon, you have a reference face. Everything is referenced off of one face of the board. But for this, you actually go by the center. So both faces will be a reference. So what I've done, I've set up a zero clearance insert in my table saw because the metal insert for the dado blade is so wide that when you pass this over, it can actually tilt and go in, and it's sort of dangerous. So you don't want to use that. So once you get the zero clearance insert put in there, I have the dado blade with the two outside cutters, no chippers, so that'll cut a 1/4 inch wide groove. And what I have done is set it up so there is 3/16 of an inch between the fence and the cutter. So now what I'm going to do is pass the board over and then rotate it, put the other face against the fence and pass it again, and that'll get a groove that is precisely centered in the board, which is what we want. Now you can see how this is off center. By rotating, put the other face against the fence, the groove will be perfectly centered. To create the stub in them, I like to use a dado blade, miter gauge with an extended fence. Making multiple passes gives a good clean finish. It's much quicker than setting up a tenoning jig on the table saw. Okay, that's a good fit. If you notice, the tenon goes all the way down. There's no gap there. Shoulders are fitting good. So that's what I want. So I just need to cut them all that way. Ready to glue up the front panel. Already got the panel sized. I've rounded the edge, and I take a little bit of wax, candle wax, and go over just the rounded corners. So if I have any glue squeeze out, it will not adhere to the panel. Now it's just a matter of putting the glue on the tenons and the mortises, and I want to stay back from where the panel is so I don't get any glue squeeze out towards the panel. That way it won't stick because the panel has to float. Take your time when inserting the panel. Because it has to float, you don't want any of the glue to squeeze out and smear onto the panel. I like to use a K-body clamp because they are self-squaring clamps and it's easy to apply pressure evenly. I like to go by feel. Feel the edge, make sure they're aligned properly. That way it'll stay square. I just cut a rabbet in the style that goes on the end panel, and that will fit into a groove on the style on the front and back, which creates a locking rabbet joint. This is how the corners will be joined together. Here's the bottom of the chest after it has been assembled. You can see the locking rabbet joint as well as the molding and the ledger. I'm using a chamfer bit and a router cable and a fence to create a chamfer and a modified raised panel lid for the tool chest. There you have the chamfer. I just cut a groove in the panel for the lid for the chest. This will be a modified raised panel. So that's what it'll look like. Before I glue it up, I want to chamfer the edge right here and do a little bit of fine sanding, and then it'll be ready to glue up. Now I've got to apply a little bit of glue to this molding, and then I'll use the pin nailer to attach it and work my way around the toolbox. I like to get the glue evenly spread. Now I'm going to put a chamfer on the top of the molding that goes around the bottom of the chest. I just got finished cutting the dado and rabbits and some beautiful quarter sawn sycamore, which I will use for the tray of the chest. So it will go together with the rabbet joints. Now the bottom floats, just like a panel, expand and contract. So in order to do that, I do not want to glue any of the surfaces. And then one of the things that I like to do is slightly round over the corners and then take a piece of candle wax and just go over just the corner. And what that does, if there is any glue squeeze out, it will not adhere to the corner of the bottom because of the coating of wax. So that will keep it from getting glued in place. And I've already installed the rails that support the tray, so I'm ready to apply a finish now. I've already prep sanded, rounded over all the edges so there's no sharp corners, dusted everything off, and I'm ready to apply a finish. Now let's see what it looks like on the birch, which is the modified raised panel on top of the tool chest. I'm going to let that soak in for about 15 minutes or so before I make sure I've got all of it. And let's see what it looks like on the red oak. The stiles and rails are oak, and the panel is the birch. And now you can see what it looks like. It really brings out the grain. I just got finished installing the hardware in the tool chest, and the tray goes inside. So this is a frame and panel tool chest very similar to what the Appalachian settlers would have used in this area. Thanks for watching the Appalachian Heritage Woodshop. For more information on today's project, go to AppalachianHeritageWoodshop.com. Be proud of your Appalachian heritage.
The Appalachian Heritage Woodshop is brought to you by Christian Internet Services, common sense internet marketing and web design. Our internet marketing commissions are based on results. Robinson and McElwee, thinking business, practicing law. Heritage Farm Museum and Village. Experience the past, appreciate today, dream for the future.